All right, we are live. I'm here with John, Sheeran, and Hodgie, the elect one and only. Yeah, the one and only Hodgie, the Smudgy. And I actually just got back from the game not too long ago, and it was. I'm very happy that the Bengals put on the kind of effort that they did in the first game I've seen them play live in I don't know 23 years. And I saw a lot of Joe Mixon getting fed the ball, and he looked great. And it was a close game. Like we played the top, two AFC team, right, John?
Yeah, I think they're the fifth seed right now. Yeah,
The Chargers.
Yeah, they're the fifth seed because the Chiefs are the one seed, right? And
Right. Okay,
right.
all right.
Yeah.
Top.
If they're in the AFC North, they're like 3 games ahead of the second place team in our division. So it kind of tells you how good they are and how bad the AFC North is right now. But I mean, Dadio, you go to the game. We play one of the better teams in the entire conference. They didn't lose by 8. Imagine if you went out to Cincinnati and see them play Oakland next week. They might win by like 20. Based on that.
No, that's not going to happen. You know it, and I know it, John. And really, let's get to the heart of the matter, which is that people have given up on the Bengals. The Bengals, how do we say, suck. And the thing is that I've been watching a lot of Christmas movies in my constant sense of angst that I'm trying to overcome. And in a Christmas movie, there's always a scene where Santa looks at his Christmas spirit reading thing, and there's always like, oh my gosh, Christmas spirit is down to 10%, or Christmas spirit, we have to do something. Bengals spirit right now among Bengals fans is like the lowest I've seen it since the 90s. I mean, it is bad out there.
I don't have to look any further than Dadio's own Twitter bio. Now, mind you guys, Dadio is the optimist here. He's the optimist out of our trio. This is his current Twitter bio right now. Mike Brown is cheap. Hashtag flush Brown down. Toilet bowl emoji. And don't think the Blackburns will be better. Hashtag overturn Blackburn. Also, I produce a show about the Bengals. That is a bio, my friend, especially from him. That's a complete heel turn from our friend right there.
Yeah, and look, I've always felt that way, but when we were doing okay, I let it slide. But yeah, we were making money, and by the way, we lost our money.
The show to be popular, so you acted like a super fan.
Yeah, no, we were making money until the Bengals started stinking, and we stopped producing the show too. That is true, but we don't have any patrons anymore. So the Patreon account is really just a place where you can see unrealistic goals. There's no purpose to it anymore.
I mean, the funny thing is the game wasn't that bad, as you pointed out. And I think every Bengals fan out there was watching the game and thinking of ways that if they were the coach, they would have actually won the game.
Oh, I shouted out some things to Marvin, like when to go for it on
You're pretty close. You were like, what? Like top
I was the fourth row.
Yeah, he could have definitely heard you. I mean, apparently he couldn't hear his defenders with the communication line, but he definitely could have heard you.
He heard me, yeah. I tried to get Jeff Driscoll pumped up too. I did what I could. Considering I'm not on their payroll, and even we're the Patreon, we have no payroll. We had $18 a month, which was sustaining me and John and Hodgie and our families, and so
it's over. The dream is over, and that's the important part that the fans and everybody needs to realize. The dream really is over. I mean, if you're hoping for a change, there's really, I don't see how things are going to change. I mean, anytime soon. The Hugh is there. He's like he's like a dead weight. Like the iceberg that we're going to hit. Marvin's there. And people keep saying, oh, it's just like last year. Oh, his contract's not going to be renewed. Oh, he's going to stay there. He's always going to be there. And the whole team is hurting. They're not doing well. Nothing seems to be making sense. And really, it's at this point when I think a Bengals fan has to sit down and think, what do we do strategically to get our voice heard by Mike Brown or whoever's in charge to say, listen, we don't want you to do subtle changes next year. We don't want you to switch them up. We want you to do something major. We want you to hire a big name coach, someone who's young, someone who understands the new NFL. We want something big. Okay, the players are fine. I don't care about the players. It's the management. It's just the poor coaching that I'm sick of.
And yeah. Go ahead, Dadio.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree. And as a Bengals fan, the thing is, it's always important to be realistic, right? And so John knows which coaches are probably the hottest candidates. And I remember, I don't know, you were John DeFilippo last year, but Frank Reich would be a great coach as well.
Mm-hmm.
And look what the job he's done in the Colts in his first year. There's just some guys. It's clear that they get it, that they're cutting edge coaches, right?
Yeah, and the whole thing with Reich that really stood out to me just from this season, it's just been the way that he's been able to like go and adapt with things on the fly and kind of just work with what has happened with his team and with his personnel, and just kind of made things work, right? Because a lot of people saw that Colts team to be 2 to 3 years away from competing. And now they're 7-6 right in the AFC wildcard hunt. And I think it's just a testament about, Reich's ability to be open-minded with certain aspects in terms of, game planning, strategy, scheme, all that kind of stuff, and just kind of molding his team together. And I think that's just kind of the model of the modern head coach, what it needs to be. And it's just, honestly, it's not even sugarcoating it. I just think it's the opposite of what Marvin Lewis is. He's not open-minded. He's very closed-minded, very stuck in his ways. And that's kind of just the staleness that I think he and a good portion of his coaching tree it's just kind of the way they are, basically. And that's just kind of their style. And I think that's, it can work for a short period of time and whatnot, but when things get rough, as we've seen with the Bengals, it's just hard for them to get out of this certain thing because they fail to adapt, they fail to evolve.
Yeah. What I was trying to say is that these cutting edge coaches that you're describing, and we can all we have an idea. Like Sean McVay, what was he? Quarterbacks coach, offensive coordinator. He didn't have in Washington. I forgot, but people didn't see him coming necessarily.
He was so young. I mean,
that was a big. That was perhaps the biggest. But my point is this: is that to some degree we know what is needed in today's NFL. But we know the Bengals are not going to get that, and it's not like because they're dumb, and it's not just because I should say that they're not as smart football wise or they're cheap, but it's also because they really do function within the realm of comfort, and that is why I think Eric Bieniemy is the only realistic candidate who could possibly.
I think even that's an unrealistic expectation because we're just assuming that because Bieniemy has history with the organization as a player. And he has had success as an offensive coordinator with the Chiefs, but like you were alluding to, I don't believe that Mike Brown and the Bengals organization is well respected from other NFL teams and specifically from other head coaching candidates because when they would come here, they would obviously presume that they wouldn't have very much control, at least to start out, because this is Mike Brown's ship. This is the way he wants, and it's basically his way or the highway. And I think what people don't understand is that the amount of power that Marvin Lewis has right now, that took 16 years to build up. And people say, oh, well, Marvin has such pull and sway with decision-making and roster building. That's because he's earned that trust with Mike Brown, and a new head coach wouldn't get that immediately. And I think that's a big, major factor for an upcoming head coach. He's looking for a shot. He's not going to get the chance to build the team that he wants early on. And I think that's a major factor that's going to sway away from any type of legitimate head coaching search. And I think that's exactly what you're kind of leading to.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. Well, on the one hand, look, if a coach comes to Cincinnati, he knows he's probably going to get a much longer leash than elsewhere.
No, I don't think so. I think Marvin. See, you're underestimating Dadio.
It's either he promoted people or he made one hire his whole career, and that.
Look, I know, but I think here's the thing: Marvin has a kind of charm with Mike Brown that I don't think other coaches would have. Don't be surprised if they get someone else.
Well, the charm is his value, that he brings great value because he does the GM duties.
No, I think I read the whole thing very differently. You've seen Marvin in a coaching interview and then during those, what they call those press conferences.
Yeah,
he has this kind of, he's got this really kind of infectious smile.
Yeah,
and he's got this like. He's almost got the. He just laughs
And I can see Mike Brown liking that, because Mike Brown to me strikes me as someone who he doesn't
He likes to giggle. Yeah,
he likes to giggle. He's like a little Pillsbury Doughboy, you know. He's like a little
yeah.
He's like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. He just wants to giggle,
Right.
and I feel like Marvin makes him giggle. I don't think other coaches could necessarily do what Marvin does.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some tickling going on there. I don't know. I mean, that is true, but I really feel like with Andy Dalton, like Mike Brown, he's just looking to be good enough. You know,
Yeah.
he feels like he nailed it with Marvin Lewis, and he nailed it with Andy Dalton. Like, look, second round. You know, let's be honest. Marvin Lewis was a hot candidate like 2 years before we hired him, right? And then I think he was offered a job in Tampa Bay, and that fell apart for some reason. And then he was back as defensive coordinator of Washington, and then the Bengals are like, oh, let's get this guy. And I don't want, you know, I don't misread this, viewers or listeners. But Mike Brown, from what I understand, he gave Lewis an opportunity as a formality for the Rooney Rule. And I don't know, he was impressed or what it was, maybe the giggling, and he decided to give him the job. But my point is, he really kind of lucked out. Like, we just remember at 2003, he was a great hiring, Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis was great for a while.
For that time. Yeah, it's like John's saying, for that period, the offenses, you know, I don't think they were as complex as they are now. Marvin Lewis's offenses were good enough.
But exactly, the expectations for offense was so little back then, and then the game has evolved, and you know, as it always does, the college game ends up or the NFL ends up catching up with the college game about a 10-year previous cycle. And that's kind of where the NFL is now. And like we said, Marvin has failed to evolve his, you know, overall mindset and philosophy in that sense.
Right. Yeah. Now, I know the topic of the day is Marvin, and the topic of the day is the Bengals management, but can I just make some pointers about Driscoll?
Yeah, we can. Yeah, I want to talk about the game. You know,
I want to talk about the Driscoll. That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, Driscoll. Look, I saw him in person, and
he's been on our show. People might not know he's been on our show, but the man has been on our show.
He's been on our show, and we are in touch. You know, I give him some inspiration from time to time. But here's the thing: I watched this sitting next to my friend. And I said to him, they're not letting this guy play his game.
No.
You know, they got to let him run around. You know, this guy, big arm, they're barely throwing downfield. And then a little bit later, he gets that touchdown run that, you know, didn't count as a touchdown run. But you saw that. You could hear the crowd on that play. They were going wild, the Chargers fans. They were so excited. They thought it was a sack. And I knew he was going to break it. He wiggles out that, and he basically gets the touchdown. And, you know, considering the fact that the Bengals are so stubborn and not very progressive offensively, and he was just thrust into the role of a starter, you know, you can tell with Jeff Driscoll when you watch him, he doesn't feel like it's his team. He doesn't feel like the identity, and that's not his fault. Nobody could in that situation.
Well, McCarron did.
To the offense to him, if they let him feel like it's his team and relaxed, I don't know. He could put up. He could win us some games.
He can be a starter. I mean, the man's really talented, you know.
Yeah, you know that 2-point conversion I was saying against my friend. I was saying there's no way we're going to get it because we're not creative enough to get it. And, you know, just again, Jeff Driscoll, to leave him exposed, just he gets sacked. You know, it's just no kind of...
I really didn't understand the offensive play calling. Why did they want Jeff Driscoll not to pass? I mean, it was like every time. I mean, listen, Mixon's good. I like Mixon, and he had some very good runs.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was just like so predictable. It's like, come on, man, you got this done. You're losing. Yeah. You got this whole field. You got this man with this strong arm.
Right.
Just try something, man. What's the worst that can happen? It's not like you're playing for the playoffs. What's the conservatism going to even get you? You just play.
Yeah, it's just a mindset, you know. It's like, you know, it's like the old people that they watch the Matlock. And you know, you ever been with an old person who watches Matlock so much that they come to your house and you don't have the channel that has Matlock, and then they try to find out what Matlock episode was playing that night, even though they watched it like 5 times.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes you get so stuck.
Shank, you're describing Carl Shank.
Yeah, I don't want to say his name, but yeah, but right. He comes over to my house. He says, "Can you just check the guide, even though you don't get the channels because it's not a free channel?" He's like, "Can you check to see what Matlock episode is on?" I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "I just want to know." And you know, that kind of to me, that is Marvin Lewis, right? It's like it'd be pointless. You know, he's gonna get fired next week. He's like, "No, I'm gonna punt it. You know, I'm going to kick the field goal. I'm going to." You know what I mean? It's because you got to do things the right way, the way I've always.
And you know what's funny is they've set up, and I know I want to talk about Driscoll, I'm talking about coaches again, but when we talk about this conservatism, they've set up a situation where there's no culpability because you don't know who's making the plays. Okay, who's the coach? Who's making the offensive calls? Is it Laser? Is it Hugh? Or is it Marvin?
It's all Laser.
It's all Laser.
Okay. It's all Laser.
I think
I mean, Laser's the one who's going to get fired. But what I'm saying is, who's in charge?
I don't think if Marvin stays, he's not getting fired.
No, but it's like, what's the Hugh doing?
Hugh? He's helping out Marvin with the defense right now. He's not involved in the offense.
Hugh?
And by the way, the defense looks good, guys. You know what the problem with our defense is?
They picked it up. There was something happened. Something happened and they got better.
Billings made a good play. I think he had like a sack. He had a good play. Look, do you know what the problem with our defense is, John? You know what it is.
Why don't I know? Maybe I know.
Playing like what? Like 8 on 11. We have no linebackers. Like we do not have linebackers. Like look, John, our safeties are leading us in tackles. Safeties, corners, defensive linemen. Look at this. Our leading tackler, linebacker, Jordan Evans with 3 tackles. Okay, that's as many as William Jackson. Dennard had 3. Kavai Russell had 4. Sean Williams had 6 tackles and Jesse Bates had 7. That means that their linebackers like, hey, I don't need to tackle him. The next guy will get it. I'll just leave it up to the secondary, right? And so the fact that we are playing basically without linebackers and we kept the San Diego Chargers on the road to what, 23 points or something? 26.
They were frustrated, man. They were frustrated.
I think it's a testament to how bad Vontaze Burfict is right now. When you replace him with Hardy and Nickerson, and obviously Nickerson didn't play well at all because he's not a good player, but just the lack of Vontaze Burfict on the field, like I mean, there were certain moments where the Chargers just were completely stifled on offense, and this is one of the better offenses in the league, one of the better quarterbacks in the league. And granted, Phillip Rivers still played pretty well throughout most of the game. But when the middle of the field wasn't as open as it usually is for the Bengals defense, they kind of gave him some trouble, forced some 3 and outs, whatever. But
we kept them under 300 yards, John. Team.
It started bad for the Bengals. Obviously, they gave up the first 2 drives for touchdowns. Then they kind of settled in a little bit. Rivers tried to test the boundary a little bit more. And to both Kirkpatrick and Jackson's testament, they've both been playing pretty well in this second part of the stretch because when Burfict was on the field and and Nick Vigil was hurt for most of the time, the Bengals defense in their scheme just doesn't do their linebackers any favors in coverage, and they don't have very good athletes at the position at that point. So their linebackers have been torched throughout the season in coverage in the passing, and that's how teams have been attacking this defense. And then, when the Chargers try to deviate away from that, and it also abandoned the ground game, it gave the Bengals defense some new life. Carlos Dunlap had a good game. Both Christian Ringo and now Scott, the backup defensive tackles, they continue to have good games. They played well. They played good for the most part, but unfortunately, like we already talked about, the offense limited what the quarterback was trying to do. Which Andy Dalton, AJ McCarron, and now Jeff Driscoll, nothing's really changed with that.
I think a lot of teams could figure out how to move Driscoll around in the pocket, let him take some shots downfield. You know what I mean? Driscoll, look, he's not throwing darts out there. Okay, he's not. There was one play I remember he got it into the tight window, but maybe not with the velocity required. I mean, he doesn't look amazing, on the mid range. But he looks like a starting caliber quarterback.
We're learning more about the big picture more than we're learning about Jeff Driscoll right now. Right now, Jeff Driscoll's season stats: 65% completion percentage, 3 touchdowns to 1 interception, 88.9 quarterback passer rating. Dalton's pass rating before he got hurt finished at 89.6. I think we can all just let me finish. We can all agree that Andy Dalton's a better quarterback than Jeff Driscoll. But like we talked about, or like some of us have been saying, even with AJ McCarron's case, it's not hard to replicate the production that Andy Dalton could put up in the Bengals offense. And the same can be said about Jeff Driscoll. The talent varies, tremendously when comparing all three players. But when you look at the production side of it, when you look at what's actually the output on the field, the difference isn't that great. And I think that says more about Andy Dalton than it did about AJ McCarron than it does about Jeff Driscoll. And it tells you just how badly this offense needs a truly elevating talent at the quarterback position.
Yeah, no, we do, but what I'm trying to say is, John, is okay. When you talk about talent, different types of talent. Physical talent, Driscoll is way better than Dalton. You know,
Running the ball, yeah, sure.
no running ball. Even he's got a stronger arm. But
Does he?
Dalton,
Does he?
he does. Yeah,
No,
he
I don't
does.
think he does.
Wait, guys, let's make sure we're saying the same thing.
Mechanics are trash. Jeff Driscoll, that's why he's a backup. He misses
No,
he misses completely easy throws today. Like the variance.
No.
Wait, John, we're just talking about strength. Just strength.
Dalton has the accuracy. That's what I'm saying. Dalton has the
Just
accuracy.
strength. Pure strength.
The strength isn't that much different though. The velocity is not that different.
Not the velocity, the deep throws. Anyways, John.
We're saying, hold on, can I clarify? We're saying that if Jess Driscoll held up his arm like this and we were hanging down from it, he could hold you higher than Andy Dalton.
That's all I was trying to say, John. But look, okay, hold on. Let me go back to the defense. And I want to say, I'm trying to say, I actually was impressed with Marvin Lewis's job today, considering that he still doesn't know what a headset is. And he's still, well, no, I mean, he's learning, but he said today again, he said, I didn't know if I'm supposed to talk into walkie-talkies, or what did he say? He was using hand signals. He had went to learn sign language at halftime or something. I don't know if all of this is true. But there's different reports about different ways he's communicating. Seriously, considering all the communication problems and the fact that we are not playing linebackers. We have half a linebacker, maybe Jordan Evans or something. We don't have linebackers, playing on the road. And the Chargers didn't have a really off day. We were actually stopping them in some positions. So this was a big improvement. And the fact that we fed Mixon 26 carries, finally what everybody's got, honestly, this team, I'll put it like this. If we had AJ Green and if Jeff Driscoll came into camp as a starter this year, we would have won this game. We would have won this game. That's what I think. And that's impressive considering this is a 10-win team. They were a 9-win team coming in.
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals aren't all that bad. And we're getting back to my whole Santa Claus theory, which is I don't get what the fans are so upset about. Yeah, the Bengals aren't going to change. Yeah, but I mean, like, what's changed this year as opposed to 10 years ago, as opposed to 20 years ago? It's the same old Bengals. I mean, just, it's just the way to waste 3 or 4 hours of your day. It's not something you get all upset about. They were okay, man. They're just always going to be okay. That's my reading of the Bengals. I mean, this is nothing.
They're better than 20 years ago. They're better than they were.
They're better than 20 years ago, And if people are healthy, if AJ Green
better than Dave Shula and the other coaches there, it's all relative to what you're watching, to what your expectations are.
Yeah, my expectations are so low, John.
And that's the point, though, because when people argue on Twitter, like, why aren't they doing this? Why aren't they doing that? You have to have a certain level of expectations for a team that's run by Mike Brown, right? And you have to have a certain level of expectations by a team that's coached by Marvin Lewis. They have a set ways of doing things, the best possible outcome that you can get from that is the 2015 season. And even then, everything had to go right. And that's a season that only comes around once in a generation, and we don't know when it's going to come back.
Let me tell you something. I want to say something to all our viewers and listeners. Okay. We would not have. Maybe we win the Pittsburgh game, but that was about it. That team was the Bengals. They would have fallen apart in the playoffs. I'm sorry to break your hearts, but they would have.
Yeah.
Watch them in the primetime games. Watch them.
I'm just upset we don't have the opportunity to fall apart in the playoffs this year.
They lost to the Texans again. They looked terrible. And then the Cardinals, I think they were down by a lot, and then they almost came back. But still, we did not have one good primetime performance.
That's fair. But that still remains their best shot. That still remained their best shot.
The best shot. They might have beaten the Steelers, who had like a terrible defense and all that. Maybe would have beaten the Steelers. Maybe. No, I think it was about the same chance as we had, honestly.
As compared to what? The other playoff teams?
No, I'm saying with the same chances we had with McCarron.
Oh, I wasn't arguing about specifically McCarron. I was talking about the entire
team. We lost the game.
Guys, quit with
still would have lost it.
Guys, quit with the McCarron thing. The dream is over. Come on, get over it. Andy Dalton's the starter. No, but seriously. But seriously, I mean, look. Here's the thing. This is what could possibly happen. I mean, if there is a change in the front office next year and they bring someone else in, if that person is suave enough, if that person's honestly, Hugh Jackson has that personality too. You have to be a charmer. You have to be a
suave. George Clooney.
But George Clooney can't coach.
I'm just saying, if we could get George Clooney. No, maybe not coach, but we got to get him in the front office or something.
No, it's got to be someone who can charm the pants off of Mike Brown. That's it. And if that kind of person comes along,
yeah, I don't know. But hey, John. So we have some comments I want to address. So Andrew Sealer says, John. He says, tell John I love him and have his back, and will beat anyone that talks crap.
Why would anyone talk crap? What is that?
I love you, Andrew, man. You're amazing.
And he says, John, we are proud of you and want you on the sideline replacing Lapham next year.
Oh, I can't replace Dave Lapham.
Yeah.
No one can replace Dave Lapham.
That's true.
It's like it's like Hodgie replacing Gus Johnson. You know, it's
not going to happen.
It's good in theory, but on reality, it would suck.
You know whose job I want? Hugh Jackson.
That's true. Yeah.
No one knows what he does. No one knows what he does. It's the mystery man.
Yeah, I mean, he's yeah. Well, look, the defense has improved with whatever it is. You know, maybe
what does Hugh Jackson have to do with defense? He's a former offensive coordinator.
Improve is still relative compared to where they were, though.
Of all people, Hodgie, I thought you would appreciate the fact that basically Marvin Lewis has a personal guru who follows him around, gives him inspirational messages. That's what it appears. Yeah.
It broke up. I couldn't hear you.
I said basically, I thought you would appreciate that Marvin Lewis has a inspiration, has a guru, a personal guru who follows him around.
That's true. That's true. But it's not my type of guru, you know. My type of guru is not so, you know. My type of gets stuff done. You talking about Shambo? I mean, Shambo gets stuff done.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, any other comments, guys?
Well, about the puppets, I want to tell people that the puppets are on the way. They're basically done.
Did you see the most recent pictures that our puppet master has sent us?
No, today?
Yeah, I'm in a pink shirt. You're in a blue shirt. It's beautiful. They're almost done.
Well, let's share that with our viewers.
I don't know how to.
Because we're losing money and viewers and everything because people don't think we have. Oh, wow, Hodgie. Looking good, man.
Come on, you know, it's a mere shadow of this beautiful person that I am. But yeah, you can.
Yeah, I have.
Yours is eerily accurate, Dadio. I almost feel like I'm looking at you. So are you going to show them?
I
want to see. What the hell are you guys talking about?
Well, the puppet maker has sent us. The puppets are almost done. They're like 95%.
They can't see anything.
Come on, man.
There. Impatient.
There we go.
That's Dadio.
I'm a representation of our fan base. They're very impatient for these puppets.
Yeah. Make mine bigger, Dadio. Yours is not as important. Make mine. Oh, there we go. Look at that handsome devil. Woo. Man.
That is one mean unibrow.
Well, it's as I said, mere shadow of what my unibrow is. But you can't get the real estate, you know, that you have on my head on that one. I also have all kinds of hair coming out of my cheeks, but you can't recreate that in a puppet. That would be gross.
Dadio, how much money do you spend a month treating that mustache?
You know, I don't really. It's like you ever go to Home Depot and they have the plant food, right?
Yeah.
Because the large doses are not good for you, they say, but small doses they help with the hair, in my experience.
I see.
Yeah. There you go. Well, Dadio, I'm gonna check out here. It was good talking to you, Dadio. Good talking to you, John. Yeah. But there is a tofu pie that is calling my name, and it's gonna burn if I don't go to get on that tofu pie. So keep it real.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we better stop this. Even though we have 14 people watching now, but still, we got to stop the show.
Well, my 14 little friends will talk to you later. Good luck. Hooday.
Yeah. And next time, hopefully, we have the puppets. But yeah. All right. For John and Hodgie, this is Dadio. We are signing off. So long. Sweetie pies.